Hey, how you doing? Justin here. Are you ready? It's time to learn your first chord, which is going to be a D chord. So let's get that chord diagram up and let's get started. So you want to always put your fingers down in finger order. The first finger is finger number 1. This is going to go in the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. So you can think there's the 1st fret, there's the 2nd fret, and it's string 1 would be the thinnest, 2 would be the next one up, and the 3rd one up will be the 3rd string. So first finger is going down. Remember that we want to place it right up next to the fret as well. Okay, so first finger in the 1, 2, 3rd string in the 1, 2, 2nd fret. The 2nd finger is going in the same fret on the thinnest string. So you want to put then down your 2nd finger. You would leave your first finger down normally, but I'm just using to show you. Remember, you want it, of course, right up next to the fret if you can. That means that your fingers will be at an angle. Of course, you can't keep them square on, otherwise your first finger is going to be back too far. So you can see the fingers are at a bit of an angle there. That's totally fine. So first finger first, 2nd finger down next on the thinner string, and then 3rd finger is going to reach up to play the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, so on the string in between your 1st and 2nd fingers. Now I'm making that look pretty easy, but it's very likely the first time you try and do it, your 3rd finger is going to be back here somewhere. You'll find it very difficult to get the 3rd finger right up next to the fret. That's okay, that's just a normal beginner problem, is to try and work on that flexibility of the fingers and the stretch there. So if you're just back here, it's okay, but try and slide that 3rd finger up so it's right up next to the fret. In the first weeks of learning guitar, your fingers are going to hurt. There's no way around it. Pressing your fingers down on the metal is just, it's going to get a little bit uncomfortable. So what you can do to help is not press down until you really need to. Now, particularly when you're learning chords like this, you put your first finger down first, but you don't need to press real hard right away. Just place it down and then get it in the right position, but we're not pressing real hard. We want to leave it there, just rough. I'm not even touching the string down on the metal yet. I'm just kind of putting it in position. Then I'm going to get my 3rd finger down roughly in position. Then I'm going to get my 3rd finger down and try and get it up there. And only when I'm ready to actually play the chord am I actually going to press my fingers down. Once you've got your fingers in the right position, you need to test all of the notes in your chord and make sure that each note is ringing out clearly. Now for the D chord, we're not going to play the thickest 2 strings, so the first note that you want to test is the open 4th string. Now you might find it sounds like this, in which case it's going to be the fault of the tip of the first finger is just up a little bit too high and is touching the 4th string, because if it's touching even the smallest amount, the note will be dead. So you need to bring that first finger down just a little bit to make sure that your open 4th string is ringing out clearly. The next note that we'll test will be the 3rd string. Okay, so we're now having to press down hard with our fingers at this point. If this note sounds like this, it means you're not pressing hard enough, or your finger is too far back. You can hear as I move it forward. Now we've got our nice clear note. If that note is muted, it could also be the tip of the 3rd finger is up a little bit too high and touching that string as well. So you need to really be aware of what fingers are touching where. The 3rd finger doesn't want to be touching that 3rd string, or it's going to mute it. So we've got that one sounding good. We've got 1st finger sounding good. Now the note with on the 2nd string played with the 3rd finger. Again, very common to get this kind of problem where the 3rd finger is too far back, so try your best to get it forward. It's not really any fingers that might mute that string, so the most common problem on that 2nd string is either not pressing hard enough or the 3rd finger being too far from the fret. Now the hardest note for most beginners is to get this thinner string ringing out. The problem is usually the 3rd finger laying down a little bit too far, so you need to make sure that I'm just bringing my hand forward a little bit. I'm exaggerating it now, but bringing the knuckles of my hand here forward a bit will help get onto the tip of the 3rd finger there. Okay, so that's really the key thing to get this note ringing out clearly is the placement of the 3rd finger. If it's too flat, lying down too much like that, it just mutes that thinner string. So you want to make sure that they're all right on the tips of the fingers. I'm just going to press really hard for a second so you can see where the strings are actually touching. if I just hold my fingers up now, you can see where those lines are in my fingers. They're right on the ends. Okay, that's exactly where it'll hurt. Now, one thing that often concerns beginners when they're learning their chords for the first time is the placement of the thumb. Now, you'll often see me with my thumb around the top of the guitar neck, but that's not what I recommend for beginners. I'd recommend that you keep your thumb right around the back of the guitar. Now, the reason I recommend that for beginners, even though it's not what I do, is it's really important that you build up the strength in this muscle here between your thumb and your first finger. We're going to need that for doing these things called bar chords later on, where we play further up the neck. And if you play like this with your thumb over the top right at the beginning, that muscle won't get worked at all, and when you come to learn your bar chords, you'll find it really, really difficult. It's a lot easier to learn here with the thumb at the back of the neck. It'll help give your fingers a good position as well. Anyway, hello Ziggy. Oh, my dog's finally woken up from her nap and come to join me right in the middle of a lesson. Thanks, Ziggy. Say hello to the people of the internet and then go back to bed, would you? Would you go back to bed for me? Would you go back to bed? Come on, I'll play with you later. Come on, bed. Thank you for the visit. Now go to bed. Bed. Come on, off you go. There you go. Good girl. By keeping your thumb around the back of the neck, it keeps all your fingers in a nice position. It'll stop you kind of grabbing the guitar neck too much. Ideally, you don't want the palm of your hand here, where your fingers meet the palm of your hand. Ideally, you don't really want that touching the guitar neck at all, but definitely not with the first few chords that we're learning. In fact, I know it might look, if I'm playing like this, that my hand is touching, but if I just extend my fingers out, you'll see there's always a little gap here between my first finger and the guitar neck. It doesn't want to be touching there. It wants to, the fingers are there, and that's for all of the chords. Like that one again, it looks like it is, but if I reveal it, there is still a very small gap there between the kind of the knuckle, inside knuckle of my first finger and the guitar neck. It doesn't want to touch. There might be times later on in your journey where you do that, where, you know, I use my thumb when I play chords quite often, but that's not the kind of thing that you want to start off learning. So when it comes time to practice your chord, I'm going to give you a little system I call Chord Perfect Practice. It's got 4 stages. The first one is finger placement. So we're going to first of all place first finger down, and then second finger down, then third finger down. Still not pressing hard. I'm just getting them in the right position. Now I'm going to press down. I'm going to have a go at strumming the chord. And now I'm going to go through and make adjustments to try and get the chord as perfect as I can. So already I played the 5th string there. I didn't want to really play that, so I'm not going to play the thickest 2 strings. Then I'm going to play the 4th string. Okay, that's not really working, so let's get the 1st finger down there a bit. There we go. Now we got that. That's good. Now 1st finger. That one's sounding okay. The note on the 2nd string. Okay, that's a bit buzzy. Let's try and get the 3rd finger up a little higher. Okay, we're going good so far. Okay, that 3rd finger needs to go more on the point. Okay, we've got it. We've made our adjustments. The chord's sounding good. And then the last part, we just want to do a strum. And we want to tell ourselves, hand, this is how I want you to go when we're playing the D chord. Okay, really try and make a mental picture of where your fingers are, what it feels like, what it looks like. As you do that final strum, really reinforce the correct finger placement for that individual chord. Hey, how you doing? Justin back with you to learn another chord. This time we're going to check out how to play the A chord. Now, it's worth bearing in mind at this point, if you're new to the whole guitar thing, that you're going to find these chords really difficult the first little while. Okay, the first week or two, it's going to feel really impossible. Like, I can't do it, this is just too hard, I'm not built for playing guitar. Pretty much everyone feels like that, and that's okay. Don't really worry about it. It just takes a little bit of perseverance, making sure you stick with your practice and practicing, hopefully, the right thing. So let's go and have a look at our A chord. So here is our A chord. You can see that we've got 3 fingers all crammed into the same fret. Now, I want to point out that the traditional way of learning A chord is like this. All 3 fingers, 1, 2, 3, all in a line. But you can probably already see that 1st finger there is very, very far away from the fret. So to make that note sound clear, you'd have to press really, 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 really hard. And that will make your finger hurt. So the fingering that I teach, it's got some other advantages as well, but you can see straight away now that these 2 fingers, fingers 2 and fingers 3, are right up next to the fret, and 1st finger sneaks in between them and is in fact a lot closer to the fret than any of the fingers were, or than even the middle finger was here in the traditional fingering. So I think it's also much better because, like changing to the D chord, look, 1st finger can stay in the same place when we're moving to a D chord and stay on the same string when we move to an E chord, okay, which are going to be the next chord that we learn. So lots of advantages to learning A chord this way. If you've learned it that way in the past and you're redoing a beginner's guitar course, then it's not a terrible thing to learn it that way. That's how I learned to play an A chord, but I think you're much better off learning this way. So let's start off fingers 1 first of all. It's going to go in the middle roughly of the fret, okay, maybe slightly toward the 2nd fret there, but it's the 2nd fret 3rd string, so 1, 2, 3rd string, and more or less the same place it was for our D chord, but just back a little bit, you know, half a centimeter or something like that. 2nd finger is then going to reach over the top and is going to go down right next to the fret on the 4th string, and 3rd finger is going to reach now underneath, still in the same fret on the 2nd string. Will feel a little bit cramped the first few times you do it. It feels a lot better after a week's practice, I can assure you. Okay, let's take it off, do that one more time. So 1st finger in the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, so 1, 2 on 1, 2, 3, okay, and then slightly not right up at the fret, so just pull it back just a little bit. Then 2nd finger will reach over right up next to the fret, 2nd fret, 4th string, 3rd finger, 2nd fret, 2nd string. Now we're not playing the thicker string for the A chord, so we start by testing out the 5th string. If that's not ringing out correctly, it's almost certainly 2nd finger being a little bit too high and muting it. So make sure you're using the tip of the 2nd finger there, and it's not sitting too high and muting the 5th string. Now we go on to the 4th string, which is the note played here by the 2nd finger. If that note's not ringing out clearly, it's almost certainly that you're not pressing hard enough, okay? Because the position reaching over the 1st finger there, it has to be right up next to the fret. You might find if you've gone too far that it starts to sound a little dead. Not buzzy, but just dead. So here's the good note. Here's it. If you cross over too far, it goes a bit dead. So just behind is what you want that one to be. the note here on the third string, if you're not getting that one, it's probably again just not pressing hard enough with the first finger. So try and really sneak the first finger up there in between the other two fingers, but without pushing the other two fingers past the fret. Okay, it might sound like this. That's not pressing hard enough. Now press still a bit rattly, a little bit harder. There we go. And we got the good note. Third finger should be right up next to the fret anyway. Because of the position of the fingers, most people will find that that note's probably one that's not going to need too much attention. Should be okay. Although the hardest one is to follow, which is the thinner string. Now the third finger, all of the fingers are cramped up, and especially if you've got big hands, it's going to take a little bit of fiddling around with the hand position to get this one ringing out nice and true. The most common problem by far with the A chord is the third finger just laying slightly over too far and muting the thinner string. When you're practicing your A chord, of course you go through that same chord perfect program. So you've placed the fingers first finger, second finger, third finger. You're not pressing too hard first of all, remember, just getting them in the right place. And then we do a strum. And then we try and figure out what went wrong and reposition things. So that one, tip of the second finger come down a bit there. That one's okay. That's not ringing out at all, so first finger, let's get that snuck up. Third finger's okay. Up on the tip more. And then we've got that. Once we've tested all of the notes, we do that final strum. And we're going to tell ourselves, that's how I want you to go when I'm playing the A chord. The best way of practicing this chord, and every chord in fact that you learn in the future, is a little bit often. Try and avoid the temptation of spending ages on the one chord, pressing down real hard all the time, giving yourself finger pain, not in doing any of the other fun stuff that you could be practicing. Much better off sticking to a proper routine where you time yourself and you do 2, 3, 5 minutes, whatever, little bursts of practice where you can play it, take it off, put it down, on and off, getting used to what the chord feels like, practicing getting it right, and then stop and move on to another thing. Okay, or have a little break, give your fingers a bit of a rest. Don't feel that pressure of like really going hard on learning a particular chord. Actually, the benefits are a lot less than the benefit that you'll get from small amounts of regular practice. Hey, how you doing? Justin back with you again for a lesson all about anchor fingers. Now, I kind of touched on it there when I was talking about the A chord, in that the first finger is in the same fret for both our A chord and a D chord. And whenever we're changing chords and we can keep a finger either on the same fret or on the same string at least, we can refer to it as an anchor finger, and it makes changing chords a lot easier. So the common kind of progression for beginners is the first thing, the first hurdle that you have to overcome is the finger pain. Okay, it's going to hurt a little bit. Probably most of the first lesson you're just more worried about the finger pain than anything else. The very next thing, the next problem, is changing between the chords fast enough. Okay, that becomes the next obstacle, and that's something that we're going to work on again in this lesson. The anchor fingers thing is one of the ingredients that'll help you learn to make your changes really fast and really smooth. So let's have a little bit of a close-up look at the anchor finger that we can use today for the change between the A chord and the D chord. So let's start off with our D chord. We've got the fingers in position. Now I'm not pressing hard, I've got them in the right place, but if I strummed right now, I'm not even getting a sound out of that chord. Okay, I'm not trying to press the fingers down, I'm just trying to get them in the right position. Again, we've got enough time we're going to spend pressing down our soft fingers on the hard metal strings. We want to do any practice that we can where we're practicing just pressing the fingers really lightly. And practicing this chord change, the anchor finger, we don't need to press hard. Okay, makes it even, in fact, a little harder. It's easier if you keep your fingers nice and relaxed. So try and get your fingers in position. First finger, second finger, third finger. Now to move to the A chord, we leave first finger down and we lift second and third fingers up. We need to slide first finger back just a little bit, and then we're going to put down the second finger and put down the third finger, and we've got our A chord. We're not even going to worry about strumming it when we're working on our anchor finger practice. We're just going to leave first finger down and lift second and third fingers back up, slide the first finger forward a bit, put down second finger and third finger. Again, we're not pressing hard. Lift off second and third finger, slide the first finger back a bit, second finger, third finger. That's our A chord. Second and third finger off, leave first finger down, slide it up a bit, second finger, third finger. Off, slide it back, put them down. Off, slide them forward, put them down. This is the anchor finger practice. Literally doing this. You don't have to worry about strumming the chord. You don't have to worry about any of that other stuff. We're just trying to develop a kind of a fluid movement between the two chords using our anchor finger to help guide where the other fingers go. Now eventually you'll find that the fingers can find their own way there pretty easily, but that takes a little bit of practice beyond the anchor finger into a thing I call the 1 minute changes. Hey, how you doing? Justin here, and today I'm going to share with you what I think is probably the most important exercise in this entire course. It is the 1 minute changes. We're going to pick two chords and change between them as many times as we can in 1 minute. Sounds pretty simple. Actually, it is a relatively simple exercise, but the benefits are huge. As I already mentioned, the first hurdle that beginners have is dealing with the finger pain. That's generally pretty horrible for a couple of weeks and gradually gets better. It should be pretty much gone after a couple of months, if not sooner. The next challenge is making the chord changes fast enough to be able to play a song, because you can't really play a song just with one chord. There might be a song here or there that's just one chord, but most songs have multiple chords, so learning to change between the chords is the thing that you need to be able to do to play any songs. It's also the fact that we count the changes in the 1 minute changes exercise is a fantastic motivational tool, because you actually get to see your progress. There's no question about it. Sometimes when you learn a guitar, it's like, oh, have I really got better? I've done all of this practice. But with 1 minute changes, because you're writing the number of changes down each practice session, you can see yourself go from like, I did 5 changes this minute, and then the next day I did 10, and then the next day I did 25, and it's quantifiable. It's a really fantastic motivational tool, so I definitely encourage you to be using the practice routine generator on my site, or the 1 minute changes counter in the app, or at the very least a piece of paper and a pen and writing down how many chord changes you do with each practice session. So I've already given you the idea. Right now we've only got 2 chords to change between, which is the A chord and the D chord. So the first thing I recommend you do is just actually make the chord changes a few times. So we're doing A to D today. It's the only 2 chords that we know. So just remembering to use the anchor finger there, just trying to get the chord nice and fresh before we go into doing the 1 minute changes. The object of the exercise of 1 minute changes is to do fast chord changes. They're allowed to be a little bit sloppy. I know this might seem a little bit weird, but the accuracy of the finger placement isn't the key thing. They should be on the right string and in the right fret. But the rest of it is kind of forgivable. If the notes aren't quite ringing out as clearly as you'd like or whatever, that's okay. That's why we do the chord perfect practice as well. So chord perfect practice is about making the chords sound really good. 1 minute changes is about making the changes really fast. And if you practice those 2 things separately, after a few weeks you'll find they start to come together, and you'll find that you're doing very fast and accurate chord changes. But in the initial stages, those 2 things might seem a little bit distant. So you're doing your 1 minute changes and you're like, oh, these chords aren't ringing out right, it's not good enough. It's okay. If you've got any doubt, go and watch my left-handed practice, the Nitsudge lessons, where I'm starting out doing these chord changes. It's a bit of a fumble fest. There's lots of duff notes coming out, and that's totally all right. So once you've got your fingers, they kind of know roughly where they're going to go. You're going to hit start on the timer, and then you're going to go do as many as you can. You're going to strum each chord, and you're going to count each time you do a chord change. I usually count the first one as well, so I'd hit start and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Going through and counting out loud so that you can count your changes. Now, ideally, what we're looking for is a flow. So even if it's real slow, trying to get like a flow going from one chord to the next. Just so you've got like a pulse to it. Because once you've got a pulse, you can start trying to speed it up. Ideally, like the long-term thing I think is that you want to get to 60 changes in a minute. That's a chord change every second. For sure you won't be doing that in your first week. Okay, but that's, if you can do 60 chord changes of a particular pair of chords, I'd say you don't need to practice it anymore. Okay? So that's the object. To pass the first grade, I would usually say, and to get through this lesson, I'd say that you want to get up around 30 changes in a minute. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. up to 30. If you can get 30 changes done in a minute, that's enough to move on to the next lesson. To pass the grade out is 30, but really 60 is that's the target that you want to try and reach with all of the chord changes. You're going to find some chord changes harder than others. Of course, this week we've only got one, but as we move on further down the course and we introduce more chords, there are more different changes, so you want to work on the ones that you're finding the hardest. Do let me know in the comments below how you're getting on with this. How many chord changes did you get through the very first time that you had a go at doing your 1 minute changes, and how fast did you progress? It's a really fun thing. Definitely if you do it and you're feeling like, oh, I can't do it, I'm hopeless, go and watch me try it left-handed the first time. You'll see me struggle with it as well. It's dead normal. Just stick at it. Okay, that's the thing. A little practice often is the way forward in these beginner stages. Hey, how you doing? Justin here. Today I'm going to talk about your very first strumming pattern, which is simply strumming on the 1. Now, all of the music that we're looking at the early stages of the beginner's course